Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds talks with Finland President Alexander Stubb in New Delhi. Mobility pact among several MOUs exchanged. Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate the 11th edition of the Raisina Dialogue in New Delhi. Finnish President to deliver keynote address at the inaugural session. US-Israeli forces continue attacks in Iran. Israeli forces also hammer Lebanon. Iran says it has hit Kurdish bases in its western border with Iraq. Nepal votes for a new parliament in a high-stakes national election after last year's Gen Z protests. And get ready for an epic showdown as India faces England in the second T20 World Cup semi-final in Mumbai. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held delegation-level talks with the visiting Finnish President Alexander Stubb at the Hyderabad House in Delhi. President Stubb is accompanied by a high-level delegation which includes ministers, senior officials and prominent business leaders. India and Finland share warm, friendly and multifaceted relations rooted in shared democratic values. An MOU on environment cooperation and on official statistics was signed on the occasion. At a joint press statement with President Stubb, Prime Minister Modi said, India and Finland both believe in the rule of law, dialogue as well as diplomacy.
आज विश्व एक अस्थिरता और अनिश्चितता के दौर से गुजर रहा है। यूक्रेन से लेकर वेस्ट एशिया तक दुनिया के कई हिस्से उसमें संघर्ष की स्थिति बनी हुई है। ऐसे ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट में भारत और यूरोप दुनिया की दो बड़ी डिप्लोमेटिक पावर्स अपने संबंधों के सुनहरे दौर में प्रवेश कर रहे हैं। हमारा बढ़ता सहयोग वैश्विक स्थिरता, विकास और साझा समृद्धि को नई मजबूती दे रहा है।
Prime Minister Modi also said that Finland is becoming a preferred destination for Indian students and talent.
दोनों देशों के इनोवेशन इकोसिस्टम को जोड़ने के लिए आज हमने फिनलैंड के साथ एक व्यापक माइग्रेशन एंड मोबिलिटी एग्रीमेंट किया है। इसके साथ हम जॉइंट रिसर्च और स्टार्टअप सहयोग को भी और मजबूत करने जा रहे हैं। शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में फिनलैंड एक रोल मॉडल है। आज हमने टीचर ट्रेनिंग, स्कूल टू स्कूल पार्टनरशिप और फ्यूचर ऑफ एजुकेशन में रिसर्च सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी सहमति बनाई है।
Before these statements, Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks with the President Stubb at Hyderabad House in New Delhi. Both the leaders held discussions on strengthening bilateral cooperation across a wide spectrum of areas. The leaders also exchanged perspectives on regional and global issues of mutual interest, including cooperation in multilateral fora. This is the first visit of President Stubb to India in his present capacity. Finland is a valued partner for India in the European Union and the Nordic region. So that's the meeting that was held in the national capital's Hyderabad House. As I mentioned, this is the first visit of President Stubb to India in his current capacity. India and Finland have been strategic partners for long. And Finland forms a bridge for India in the Nordic region as well, apart from the European Union. The day also saw External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar calling on the Finnish president in the national capital, expressing confidence that high-level engagements would continue to bolster bilateral relations between India and Finland. President Stubb will also be meeting President Draupadi Murmu and Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan. And earlier, towards the start of the day, President Stubb visited Rajghat in the national capital and paid his respects to Mahatma Gandhi. He laid a reed at the memorial of the father of the nation. The gesture remains a significant part of the official itinerary of visiting heads of state and government, symbolizing a tribute to the values of peace and non-violence. Now, the Raisina Dialogue is India's premier conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics, which is kick-starting today. This is the 11th edition of the Raisina Dialogue and will be held from the 5th to the 7th of this month. The event will be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Finnish President Alexander Stubb will join the inaugural session as chief guest. He'll also deliver the keynote address. Now, the Raisina Dialogue is to witness participation of representatives from 110 countries, including ministers, former heads of state and military commanders. The theme of the 2026 edition is Samskar, assertion, accommodation and advancement. The event has 6 thematic pillars covering issues like climate, conflict and trade. India welcomed Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism of Sri Lanka, Vijitha Herath, on his arrival in New Delhi to attend Raisina Dialogue 2026. India and Sri Lanka share a close and multifaceted partnership deeply rooted in shared people-to-people ties. India also welcomed Minister Dhananjay Ramphul, Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration and International Trade of Mauritius, on his arrival in New Delhi to attend the Raisina Dialogue 2026. India and Mauritius share an enduring partnership rooted in shared culture and heritage, as well as strong people-to-people ties. Now, the Ministry of External Affairs on Wednesday has strongly rejected claims circulating online that Indian ports are being used by the United States Navy to launch attacks against Iranian assets. The government's denial has come through a post from the MEA's official fact-check handle on social media, which described the allegations as completely fake and false. The clarification followed reports broadcast by One America News, which claimed that Indian naval facilities were being used by American warships to stage operations targeting Iranian assets. The claim quickly spread on social media platforms including X and Telegram, triggering widespread discussion and speculation online. Responding to these reports, the MEA's fact-check account issued a direct rebuttal. It further cautioned against such baseless and fabricated comments. Now, the Israeli Defense Forces on Thursday released videos showing aerial strikes on what it said were missile launchers in Iran and Hezbollah command centers in Lebanon. Israel said the strikes were in response to a wave of Iranian missiles fired early on Thursday, which sent millions of residents rushing into bomb shelters. Lebanon has also become a key front in the widening conflict, which has gripped the region since the United States and Israel launched attacks on Iran. Hezbollah fired dozens of drones and rockets at Israel on Monday, triggering Israeli retaliation, which has killed dozens of people. The US military also released a video showing strikes on Iran's mobile missile launch capabilities. US Central Command said American forces are locating and destroying these threats with lethal precision. Iran also launched a wave of missiles at Israel on Thursday, sending millions of residents into bomb shelters. Further, Iran's intelligence ministry has said on Thursday that it targeted positions of separatist groups allegedly attempting to enter through the country's western borders, claiming the militants suffered heavy losses. A drone strike hit an arms depot at the headquarters of an Iranian Kurdish opposition group in the town of Rekala in Iraq's Kurdistan region, wounding several fighters. Iran has long accused the autonomous Kurdish region in northern Iraq of harboring militant groups behind attacks inside the Islamic Republic, and its Revolutionary Guards have repeatedly targeted these bases. Reports this week have also suggested that the United States and Israel have reached out to Iranian Kurdish militias to launch attacks on Iran's security forces in the country's western areas. Tehran further said on Wednesday that more than 1,000 people have been killed in the country since Saturday as a result of the US-Israeli strikes. The toll follows joint US-Israeli attacks on Tehran and several other Iranian cities beginning Saturday morning, which Iran says killed top military commanders and many civilians. In the early hours of Wednesday, US and Israeli forces also struck a girls' school in Urmia in Iran's West Azerbaijan province. An airstrike hit Hezbollah's stronghold in South Beirut early Thursday after Israel issued a warning to residents. And still to come on DD India Newshour. The White House says Spain has agreed to cooperate with the US military in the Iran campaign. US Interior Secretary meets with Venezuela's Rodriguez in Caracas.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life.
The land of forests, nature's hidden jewel. Jharkhand is a traveler's paradise. Welcome to Delhi.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, voting is on in Nepal. This is the first general election in the country since the Gen Z protests in 2025. There's been an 18% voter turnout till 12 noon. Nearly 19 million people are eligible to vote in these elections. 65 political parties are in the race for the 275 seats in the House of Representatives. Out of these, 165 members are being elected directly, while 110 members are to be chosen through proportional representation. Leaders who've cast their ballot so far include frontrunner Balendra Shah, who is also the former mayor of Kathmandu. Let's get you a live update from DD India Siddharth Bhardwaj joining us from Kathmandu in Nepal. Good afternoon to you, Siddharth. How is the voting going so far? Is everything smooth or have there been any incidents as well?
Oh, very good afternoon to you, Gautam, and it's going really smooth. Let me just show you. Let me just show our viewers of DD India. I'm outside here at a polling station, and you can see behind me people who have come here for voting, and it's going on really smooth, courtesy to the security arrangements by the authorities who are leaving no stone unturned to make sure that these elections are safe and secure, and everyone, come here and voting happens in a peaceful manner. So you can see behind me long queues, and people are coming after casting their ballot. Gautam, according to the electoral process of Nepal, so every voter will be given 2 ballot papers, and they'll be stamping one for the general direct voting, which is first past the post, and second would be for the proportional representation. And the results of the direct voting are expected within 24 hours, as said by the Election Commission. But as far as the proportional representation is concerned, it will take another 2 to 3 days. But then, as far as the voting is concerned, it is going really smooth. And as I've told our viewers, by noon, the polling percentage was 18%. It is expected that by the end of the day, when the polling will end by 5 p.m., the percentage could be around 65%, but that remains to be seen what polling percentage will be there once the voting ends. There are people who are very excited. 8 lakh voters who are 800,000 voters who are first-time voters, and they are very excited. When they are going to cast their vote. We had a word with them, but they're saying that we are happy. When we are casting a vote, but at the same time, we have great expectations from the government. We want good governance. We want to eradicate corruption from the country, and we want the government to generate more and more employments and opportunities, especially for the young people who can stay here, and work from within the country. Don't have to depend on the foreign countries to go and work, because when they stay here, they can take care of their families and other things as well, which they cannot do when they are in the other countries. So as far as the voting is concerned, it is going really smooth, Gautam.
All right. Since you mentioned the younger generation rather, now could it be said with certainty, Siddharth, that since a youth-led protest, a Gen Z protest, had toppled the last government in September last year, that is going to be a mandate for change? Or could the old guard, which is also in the fray, very much in the fray, still be able to hold sway?
It is expected that the Gen Z generation will dominate these elections, and they will have a key role, when it comes to the outcomes of these elections. But then there are other people as well in the other regions, since Nepal is divided into 7 provinces. So some people are also saying that the old parties and the old party candidates still have the dominance in these elections. You've mentioned the protests, the youth-led protests, the Gen Z protests, which took place in September last year. They toppled the KP Sharma Oli government, and also Nepal got a hit when it comes to its economic stability and its political stability as well. And these elections are very crucial when it comes to reviving the economic and political stability of the country. So yeah, people, I'm here in Kathmandu, but people from other regions are saying that the old candidates, the old parties still have a dominance in these elections, and that is what making these elections really interesting, because you don't know the outcome yet. Although, however, Gen Z are saying that they have united, and they have united for a change. But at the same time, some people are also saying that the old parties and candidates still have a dominance, and result could go anywhere. That remains to be seen once the result is out, but we cannot say anything right now, and that is making these elections really interesting.
Right, and since it's a neighboring country, and apart from that, a lot of people from Nepal also work in India, and there are strong people-to-people ties. There's a cultural cross-section or crossover as well, as far as India and Nepal are concerned. How critical are these elections for India as well?
Definitely. I mean, the next government which will be elected after these elections, a lot of, the foreign relations will be dependent on that. And the relations with the neighboring countries. Since you mentioned India, it is very, very critical, these elections, from that point of view, that how the relations with India will be after the next government will be elected. But yeah, both the countries share great cultural ties and people-to-people ties, and that's what makes the relations between both the countries stronger. But a lot of things depends on the results and who will be selected as the Prime Minister of the country. So a lot of things will be dependent on the results of these elections, which are very, very interesting again, because some people are saying, one faction is saying that Gen Zs are dominating these elections. The other faction is saying no, all political parties and candidates are still having a dominance in these elections. So depends on the results, Gautam. A lot of things will be dependent on the results. 24 hours is the time which Election Commission has given as far as the results for the first past the post is concerned, which is the direct elections. But as far as the proportional representation is concerned, it will take another 2 to 3 days or maybe more.
All right. Thanks, Siddharth. And keep an eye on how things go, and all the best for having the poll go very peacefully there in the Himalayan kingdom. Thanks. Now, the US Senate has rejected a resolution aimed at curbing President Donald Trump's authority to continue military strikes on Iran. Senate Republicans backed President Trump's military campaign against Iran on Wednesday, voting to block a bipartisan resolution that sought to halt the air war and require congressional approval for further hostilities. The Senate voted 53 to 47 against advancing the measure, largely along party lines, with most Republicans opposing it and most Democrats supporting the move. Spain has doubled down on its opposition to Washington's use of its bases against Iran after Donald Trump's threats of trade reprisals. Spanish Foreign Minister José Manuel Albares said its stance on bases on the war in the Middle East, on the bombardment of Iran, has not changed at all. Spain has denounced the US and Israeli bombing in Iran as reckless and illegal. Deputy Prime Minister Maria Jesus Montero said that Spain, and I quote her, will not be vassals, end quote, to another country. But earlier on Wednesday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Spain has agreed to cooperate with the US military a day after President Trump threatened to cut trade with Madrid over its stance against the US-Israeli strikes on Iran. Russian President Vladimir Putin suggested that Russia could stop supplying gas to European markets now and move to more promising markets. His remarks have come as the European Commission prepares to bring a proposal to permanently ban Russian oil imports after Hungary's parliamentary election. Speaking to state television, Putin described the idea as preliminary thinking rather than a final decision and said he would instruct the government and energy companies to study the option. He also stressed that Russia has remained a dependable energy supplier and intends to continue cooperation with reliable partners, including Slovakia and Hungary.
Still, they have said they plan to impose restrictions on purchasing the Russian gas, that they plan to do it in a month, with 24th being the last day, and starting from 25th, they will impose restrictions on gas, including liquefied gas. And in 2027, they will impose further restrictions up to a total ban. At the same time, other markets are opening up, and perhaps it would be more profitable for us to stop supplying the European market right now, to move into those markets that are opening up and establish ourselves there. There is no political motive here. I want that to be clear. But if they are going to close us off in a month or two anyway, then perhaps it is better for us to stop ourselves now.
US President Donald Trump has met with leaders of major technology companies on Wednesday, including Google, Meta and OpenAI, to formalize a pledge aimed at protecting consumers from rising electricity costs tied to the rapid expansion of energy-intensive data centers. A White House official said Google, Microsoft, Meta, Oracle, xAI, OpenAI and Amazon will be signing the pledge. The initiative is being launched ahead of the November midterm elections, with voters increasingly concerned about energy affordability and the increased strain on the country's power grids. The pledges include a commitment by technology companies to bring or buy electricity supplies for their data centers, either from new power plants or existing plants with expanded output capacity. Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez has announced on Wednesday that her country will soon present reforms to its main mining law to Parliament following talks in Caracas with U.S. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, where both sides emphasized cooperation and investment opportunities. Burgum arrived with representatives from more than 24 U.S. mining firms, highlighting potential billions of dollars in investment and job creation. The visit reflects Washington's effort to expand American involvement in Venezuela's oil, gas and mining sectors. The proposed law aims to allow foreign companies to develop resources such as gold, diamonds and rare earth minerals. Rodriguez said discussions covered various mineral sectors, while separate energy talks will be covered in meetings on Thursday.
We would like to ask for the cooperation of all members of the National Assembly to act swiftly. We want to be able to present the people of Venezuela, as well as national and international business sectors, with investment and development opportunities in the mining sector.
Australia and Canada have signed new agreements on critical minerals as Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney made a landmark address to the Australian Parliament on Wednesday. Introducing Carney in Parliament, Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese said his address represented the closeness of ties between the two nations. He also said that both the countries are middle powers in a world that is changing and have decided to back each other. Carney, in his address thereafter, echoed the sentiment, saying that in a world of great power rivalry, middle powers have a choice: compete for favour or combine for strength. Carney's stop in Australia included the first address to Australia's Parliament by a Canadian leader since 2007. On the Critical Minerals Agreement, Albanese said Australia would join Canada's G7 Critical Minerals Production Alliance, an initiative to diversify and secure global critical minerals production and supply. On recent tensions along with Pakistan and Afghanistan border, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said humanitarian access to areas affected by the clashes remain limited, making casualty reports difficult to independently verify. He also stressed that civilians must be protected at all times, while aid agencies need rapid and unimpeded access.
In Afghanistan, cross-border shelling and airstrikes have reportedly caused civilian casualties and damaged homes. In Nangarhar province, it is reported that shelling near Torkham border crossing injured 5 civilians, including children, while another mortar strike in Nazian district injured 2 people and damaged homes. And here too, international law is no secret, and it is clear. Civilians must be protected at all times, as well as civilian infrastructure.
And still to come on the India Newshour. We'll be speaking with our expert guest on India and Finland's growing ties. And Canadian PM Mark Carney praises Prime Minister Modi for his work ethic.
One of India's newest states, one of India's oldest lands. Jharkhand is a hidden.
Take a front seat to witness the grandeur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go any further, another look at our top stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds talks with Finland President Alexander Stubb in New Delhi. Mobility Pact and other similar agreements signed. Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate the 11th edition of Raisina Dialogue in New Delhi. Finnish President to deliver keynote address as chief guest at the inaugural session. US and Israeli forces continue their attacks on Iran. Israeli forces also hammer Lebanon. Iran says it's hit Kurdish bases in its western border with Iraq. And Nepal votes for a new parliament in a high-stakes national election after last year's Gen Z protests. Let's now take you back to our top story, which is about India and Finland improving their ties with the visit of Finnish President Alexander Stubb. He has had a bilateral exchange and talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi a short while back, and several pacts have been exchanged, including one on mobility. India and Finland have been strategic partners for long, and it is a very key bridge to not just the European Union for India, but also to the Nordic region towards the north of Europe. We have had trade ties going back as well for certain years, and of late things have been picking up, and about $3 billion is the bilateral trade, but it's also about investments. A lot of Finnish companies already in India. India also has certain presence in terms of its companies in Finland, and there is a concerted effort now through this visit to have better relations, improved ties, stronger ties with Finland. We have Dr. Rajan Kumar joining us. He's a professor at the School of International Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi. Good afternoon to you. Professor, what can you tell us about India and Finland in terms of the kind of ties that they have and the potential of the ties that they are trying to live up to now?
Thank you, Gautam, for having me here. I think, Finland is a very important country, European country, as you know. If you see the per capita income of, because it's a Nordic state, per capita income of all the Nordic states is very, very high. So Finland is important from European perspective. Finland is important from Nordic perspective, and Finland is also important for India for technological and economic cooperation, because Finland has very developed innovative technology in telecom, in artificial intelligence, what you call quantum computing, etc. And also because this visit, Alexander Stubb's visit, is for the Raisina Dialogue, and Raisina Dialogue, as you know, is the premier Indian forum for dialogue on diplomacy and economic cooperation, etc. So he's the chief guest for the Raisina Dialogue, and his visit, and this visit also, let me tell you that this visit is happening, President's visit, what you see today, is happening immediately after the AI summit, where Prime Minister of Finland was participating. So it shows, it kind of demonstrates the kind of strengthening cooperation between the two countries. So Finland is also a middle power country. The population of Finland is not very high, it's 5.6 million, roughly 56 to 60 lakh population. But yes, in terms of per capita income, in terms of education, in terms of innovation and technology, in terms of clean energy, Finland is at the top of the rank. It's one of the few countries which is leading in social welfare, in education, technology, etc. So from that perspective, I believe that Finland is extremely important for India. And Alexander Stubb's visit, the President's visit, it kind of strengthens the ties at several levels, bilateral as well as multilateral, because we have very institutionalized cooperation between the two countries. There are several institutions. There is Economic Cooperation Commission between the two countries. We have what you call Joint Working Group on Energy, a Joint Working Group on Sustainability. But there are several areas of cooperation which would be discussed, and also because it's a middle power. And as you can see, just a few days back, a Canadian Prime Minister was in India, and now you have this Finnish president here. So it shows that middle power countries are trying to have a third layer of cooperation apart from their cooperation with the United States and China. They are willing to have a very strong cooperation with a country like India, because they believe that India provides a future market. India is going to be the leading country in terms of its geopolitical influence in the future. So all these middle power countries are trying to strengthen cooperation with India, And from that perspective, I believe this visit of President of Finland is important for Finland as well as India.
Right. Now, India and Finland have also decided, as part of this visit, the talks that the Prime Minister had with the Finnish President to elevate the India-Finland bilateral relationship to a strategic partnership in digitalization and sustainability. How significant is that, and what kind of benefits can both the nations derive in the coming days from this kind of an elevation of ties?
I think what kind of captures the cooperation between the two countries, there is a term which was used, I think, 2020-21 period, which is called DESI, DESI, and D is for digitalization, E is for this I think energy, S is for sustainability, E is for education. I'm sorry, S is for sustainability, where is environmental sustainability, etc., and I is for innovation. So that in a way it sums up the kind of cooperation which is happening between the two countries. All of us in India, we know about Nokia. Nokia was the first probably phone that we might have used in India. So the Nokia is the company from there. And then we have digitalization, and also in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, etc. Because the innovation in telecom sector is very powerful in Finland, and we are trying to get some technology from there, and that's why we have this cooperation in quantum computing. We have cooperation on the what you call 5G, 6G technology. Finland is one of the leading country when it comes to 6G. So we are having a cooperation in that, but also because these countries focus on clean energy. All the Nordic states, and when I say Nordic states, I'm referring to Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. So these are the Nordic states, and India has a very strong a multilateral format with India and Nordic, and we have had 2 summits also, multilateral summit, and third is likely to happen this year. From that perspective, digitalization and this what you call education sector, and then this sustainability, sustainable energy and sustainable development and innovation. So these are the areas where these countries are pushing, and they are trying to elevate the level of cooperation that we have had. But because we are a very friendly country, let me tell you, there are not issues of conflict or concern between the two countries. Social welfare. There are 2-3. I've been to Finland a couple of times, I can tell you, and there are 2-3 areas where we can learn very strongly from Finland. One is the social welfare sector, the way they support their own people. We also have our own programs in supporting our poor people here, but we can learn from Finland. And second, the education sector. The education is very developed. Also because the per capita, if you see the GDP, the amount of GDP which goes to education and social welfare, that amount is very high in Finland, and that's why Nordic states are also known as a social welfare state. Not capitalist, not so socialist, but a social welfare model that these countries follow. So education, innovation, technology, these are the areas where we need to strengthen cooperation. Also, let me tell you that there is a network now between Indian academics, Indian professors and researchers, and the Finnish scholars and academics. I think it's called FinRec is the term which is used for this network. So we are trying to have a very strong technological cooperation where educational, cultural, and other exchanges can take place between the two countries. And the fact that he's the chief guest at Raisina Dialogue, so we are trying to send a message to the world that how the country, the leading country of the global south, which is India, is trying to strengthen cooperation with the middle power countries. And the president who is here, Alexander Stubb, he's very vocal and articulate, let me tell you, on the issue of when the US was threatening the Denmark. He was one of the vocal presidents of European country, and he spoke very strongly against this kind of policy of United States. And also he is very well informed and very. So what I'm trying to say that his visit it sent a very strong message to the countries of the global south, but also to Finland and European country that India is going to cooperate very strongly with the middle power countries in Europe and other places.
Among the documents that have been exchanged, the MOUs, there's one on environmental cooperation and official statistics as well, but a key one which the Prime Minister mentioned was related to mobility. He even mentioned that India and Finland have decided to increase their cooperation in defence. How significant are these announcements?
I think this cooperation in the sector of this defense and security is important for both India and Finland. Recently, you might have heard that Finland and Sweden, they joined NATO. So earlier it pursued a policy after the World War II. It pursued a policy of neutrality, but recently it has become a member of NATO. And there's a huge border between Finland and Russia, and the security concerns are there. But India, as you know, India pursues a very neutral policy where we have very strong defense cooperation with what you call Russia. But at the same time, we're trying to strengthen cooperation with a number of European countries where we're trying to diversify the areas where Finland can play a very important role, even in the defense sector. One is the area of this what you call computing. The second one is the area where what you call AI, etc. Third is the use of different 6G, 5G, etc., which is very useful for India. So that is area. And also, let me tell you one sector where Finland can play a very important role, because it's also an Arctic state. And India has issued a statement on Arctic just a few years back, where we are trying to strengthen our presence. We are already a member of Arctic Council, but Finland being an Arctic state, we are trying to strengthen cooperation in the Arctic regions when it comes to ice-breaking ships, etc., or technology related to submarines.
Yes, future trade routes as well. I'm afraid we're running out of time, Dr. Rajan, but thank you so much for joining us to talk about India-Finland relations. Now, Finnish President Dr. Stubb has also lauded the strength and resilience of India's democracy, saying it continues to stand as a powerful example of diversity, participation and constitutional values. President Stubb highlighted that India's democratic system has thrived through the active participation of its citizens and the commitment of institutions to uphold the constitution.
Salute your diplomatic skills when you say that we stand here as two big democracies. There is one big and one slightly smaller, but I think the key message is that we share values. I would also like to congratulate you for your leadership. My last visit to India was actually in 2013 in my capacity as Minister of Trade. And the change that I just see on the streets of New Delhi, and that I will most probably see in Mumbai in a couple of days is palpable. This is an economic miracle that we're witnessing, and I wish you all the best.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has praised Prime Minister Modi for his leadership, discipline and focus on delivering benefits to citizens, while signaling Canada's intent to deepen cooperation with India across key sectors. Speaking at the Lowy Institute in Sydney on Wednesday, Carney described Prime Minister Modi as a unique leader with an exceptional work ethic, noting his long public service without a break.
I'll call it to the rural household, but we would say in Canada, Monsieur, Madame, tout le monde, the person on the street sort of thing. So a huge motivation for the financial reform transformations, the payment system transformation, UPI and other things, was to get money directly, as you know, directly to individuals without leakage, shall we say, in the system in real time, and to bring people, hundreds of millions of people into the formal economy. And he's very focused on that aspect of delivery. So here he's, up at this global level, operating, India rising, challenges, but much positive, but a leader who keeps bringing it back down to that level. So there's much to see there.
Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan was chief guest at the inauguration of the Rajagopuram Kalasarohan and Mahakumbh Abhishekam ceremonies at Sri Veerabhadrashwara Temple in Karnataka's Yadur. Addressing the gathering, the Vice President described the occasion as a moment of spiritual resurgence and civilizational reaffirmation. He added that Bharat is not merely a nation but a living civilization. And still to come on DD India Newshour. The Brazilian Congress approves the EU-Mercosur deal. And a report on AI-driven cricketing coach introduced by Google at the recently concluded India AI Impact Summit in New Delhi.
गर फिरदौस बर्रुएज समी است.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Brazilian lawmakers have finalized their approval of a free trade agreement between South American Economic Bloc Mercosur and the European Union following a Senate vote on Wednesday. The collective approval by the legislatures of Mercosur's members, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay, is a necessary step for the trade agreement to take effect following more than 2 decades of negotiations. But it's also stuck at the EU level. Now, Google showcased AI-based cricket coaching at the India AI Impact Summit 2026, a technology designed to identify and correct players' technical flaws. This innovation is set to redefine professional cricket coaching in the country. Take a look.
In India right now, both cricket and AI are at the center of public attention. While the excitement of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2026 continues, the India AI Impact Summit in New Delhi is shaping the future for technological innovations. At this platform, Google unveiled an initiative that could transform traditional cricket training. Held at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi, the Google Pavilion became the highlight of the India AI Impact Summit. Here, a live demonstration of AI-based cricket coaching was presented. Google introduced its AI-driven cricket coach, capable of identifying technical flaws in batting and providing immediate corrective suggestions. The system aims to combine traditional coaching with technical precision. At the expo, Google created a special cricket pitch equipped with advanced HD cameras and sensor technology. As a player bats, the system records footwork, head position, balance, stance, shot selection, and bat swing. A frame-by-frame analysis is then performed, which then produces a detailed report on screen within minutes. The report indicates whether the shot selection was appropriate for the situation and suggests which option could have been more effective based on the ball's line and length. In this way, training becomes more scientific and data-driven. According to Google representatives, the goal of this AI coach is to make cricket training more accessible and structured. In remote areas of the country where professional coaches are unavailable, this technology can serve as a guide. This initiative is seen as a significant step towards democratizing sports training. The foundation of this AI system is Google's advanced AI model, Gemini. Sundar Pichai, Google's CEO, said that AI is now capable of understanding the complexities of sports. The system compares a player's current performance against historical ICC statistics. It also demonstrates how experienced batsmen like Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar would have played in the same situation. The comparative feature allows young players to learn at both technical and strategic levels. Cricket is an integral part of India's identity. And when artificial intelligence begins to understand that, it signals a new era where sport and technology converge. This is not just a technological demonstration, it's a glimpse of a future where every player can receive data-driven, precise, and rapid guidance. AI has now become an essential part of game strategy and technique, not just something off the field. Bureau Report, TT India.
And time now to talk a little bit more about cricket, because what's at stake is a huge evening and a berth for India into the final of the T20 World Cup, because it's a bid to become the first team to successfully defend the T20 World Cup title. India are squaring off with England in the second semi-final in Mumbai this evening. It's the third T20 World Cup semi-final in a row between the two teams, and each time the winners have gone on to lift the trophy as well. With the final berth at stake, the high-pressure knockout game promises to be nail-biting and engrossing. Let's get more on it. DD India's Narayan Singh now joins me from our newsroom. Narayan, this is going to be a tough one to call, isn't it? And Wankhede itself is split as far as the World Cup is concerned. The T20 World Cup is concerned between India and England. Just one win each for both.
Gautam, as you mentioned, it's going to be a crack of a contest between both the teams. As we know that if you take a look journey of the England team in this tournament, in the group stage it was not up to the mark. At the same Wankhede Stadium here in the group stage, they lost to West Indies, and also they won against Nepal by just 4 runs. Almost Nepal was there, but somehow they managed to win the match. But in Super 8 they look a bit different team. But if you take a look overall of the England team, their team apart from Harry Book, their captain, and if you take a look, a few batters are only in the form, but they're talking about their opener Phil Salt, and as well as if you take a look the form of the Joss Butler, they are not getting too much run the way the team England expect from them. So it is a matter of concern for the team England. But talking about the India, after a tense we can say the final Super 8 match against West Indies, India booked their berth in the semi-final of the tournament. And the most important thing is that Sanju, the way he played a fantastic knock-off, 97 runs in 50 balls against West Indies. The comeback of Sanju in form, definitely it's a big positive for the team India. And apart from, if you take a look, Abhishek Sharma, all the players, we can say from 1 to 8, the batting depth India have contributed in a different matches. If you take a look India's journey, in every match there was a hero for India. In West Indies match, we saw Sanju Samson was there, and in initial matches Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan in 2 matches, even Tilak Verma was there, Shivam Dubey. So in each and every match, India has had a hero in this tournament so far, and hoping that in today Abhishek Sharma will come back. We know that if Abhishek Sharma is in form, what kind of batter he is playing with a strike rate of more than 200, and we know that when last time Abhishek Sharma faced England team at the Wankhede, that was in February 2025, he unleashed attacking display of shots against this England team and amassed more than 130 runs in that match. So hoping that Abhishek Sharma will come back to his best, and his form is very important at this juncture of the match. But I think no need to worry. If you take a look at the recent form, India is in better form, and last time around in the semi-finals, India defeated England in the 2024 edition, and before that England in 2022 edition they defeated India. So it's like a alternate World Cup that both the teams are winning on the alternate side of the every edition. So this time around India will just keep that thing aside and will be there in the final, and hoping the title favorite India once again, we can say that the kind of squad they have, Jasprit Bumrah is there, and one concern is also Varun Chakravarti. We know that in the group stage he was a fantastic bowler. The economy was 5.2, and he has taken 9 wickets in the group stage. But in the Super 8 we saw there is a dip in the form of the Varun Chakravarti. He took only 3 wickets, and the economy already means almost become double of 10.2. So he need to do something different, a bit of variety in his ball, inside of just bowling inside the wicket for the right-hander. He can do some variation, definitely. The key to success here at the Wankhede, do wicket-to-wicket bowling and do some variation in it. Definitely India, we can say that easily beat England.
Okay, and very quickly, Naran, how crucial is the pitch and the toss going to be? The pitch, because it's being reported to be a bit green on the top.
As you rightly mentioned, Gautam, as you mentioned, there is a bit green top will be there. So in that sense, we can say that it will be something for the both spinners and for the Pacers, because the number 7 pitch is being used for this match, and we know that the match against England and West Indies played here at the Wankhede, 6 West Indies spinners took wicket, 3 went to Gudakesh Moti, and 2 to Roston Chase, and 1 wicket went to Akil. So there will be a mix of pace and spin, and we know that Indian spinners are fantastic. Aksar is there and Varun is there in pace department. You know, Jasprit Bumrah, what kind of impact he can bring in the match.
All right, Narayan. Well, let's see it there and see if fortune favors India or England in the evening. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment. And that's all we have for the edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.